So Void Interactive just released a short cinematic trailer over on their Twitter page, along with some hints as to the release of the new upcoming DLC. The video itself is regarding an assassination attempt at a re-election campaign rally, which sort of caught me off guard. I think we all know where they got this inspiration from. It's good to know that they are continuing their trend of not being afraid to showcase real-world issues in their game. I think some people forget that this is supposed to be a police game, and a lot of these real tragedies we see on the news are part of the real world that police officers have to face on a daily basis. So I absolutely respect their decision to continue to give us realistic scenarios and maps. Now, what's really crazy here is at the end of this clip, there's a transition which for a split second shows off a sequence of numbers. These are actually hexadecimals, and you can convert the hexadecimal values into characters. There are websites out there that can do this for you, and of course, not surprisingly, members of the community have already figured it out. Once fully decoded, the message appears as more info on December 5. It is unclear on whether or not we are getting a full release on the 5th of December, but it more than likely sounds like they will be announcing a release date for the new Dark Waters DLC. I also really wanted to talk about Void Interactive's recent development news. They released another development briefing on the 22nd of this month, talking about some in-depth information regarding design philosophy and details around the upcoming DLC 2 launch. Right away, we get a look at a new feature to be implemented, allowing us to have access to air support. This appears to be a thermal view of a police helicopter camera, but it could also be a drone. It's kind of hard to see here, but regardless, the ability to pull out our tablet and gain information from above would be pretty awesome. It actually makes me wonder if they will allow us to use this feature in older missions as well. Obviously, in real life, SWAT teams in bigger cities like Los Angeles will have airships on standby to support the teams. Moving on, they share with us that each mission will take place in a maritime setting, meaning over the water. The LSPD are going to be working with the California Offshore Air and Sea Team Organization. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a fictional Coast Guard, but I know there are some air assets that provide assistance to offshore assets in real life. They mentioned with us that the Dark Waters DLC will be available for free by default for Supporter Edition owners, just like with DLC 1, and everyone will be getting the DLC 2 weapon packs for free. So for whatever reason, if you decide to opt out of buying the new DLC, you'll still get access to any of the new firearms. We did talk about this in the previous development updates, but other than the weapons like we just mentioned, the DLC features are going to work the same as they did previously. So if you didn't purchase the Dark Waters DLC, the only way you can play the new maps is to join a lobby with someone who paid for the DLC. We also talked about this previously in the last briefing video that we did, but Void Interactive has heard our feedback and are shifting to adding in more player flexibility regarding loadouts and customization, allowing us to have more choices when it comes to weapon customization options, quality of life features, and gear choices, allowing us to utilize a flashlight and an infrared device equipped together at the same time on our weapon system. And this is something that we've been asking for quite some time now. Unfortunately, they state here that this firearm customization feature was something they wanted to include, but were unable to properly fit it in for this DLC. Now, we talked a bit about the gear flexibility in the last video we did, but there are going to be equipment changes coming to this DLC, so we're going to be seeing the ability to customize multiple different helmet attachments instead of just the one like we have now. This is actually possible right now with a mod called Gunfighter, but it seems like Void Interactive got some inspiration from that mod and decided to add it in for themselves, which is pretty cool. They are also going to be adding arrest canceling, allowing you to get out of the arrest animation whenever you want. They do hint at other quality of life flexibility here, but this is the only example they give, so we'll just have to wait and see if they are adding anything else that could be significant in the future. Towards the end here, they mentioned that although their recent updates have been next to paid DLC, this is not their plan for all updates going forward, and they plan on releasing their next content update for free next year, and will be sharing more info into that in the new year. Now, there are a couple things they didn't talk about that I really wanted to quickly address regarding implemented features. A while ago, they hinted at giving us new features that could be available in the coming DLCs, and I'm curious as to how they are going to approach this. One big thing for me is the ability to have AI SWAT officers or AI police officers to watch choke points or doors. This is something they hinted at during one of their AMAs a few months back. Even in single player, I'd love to have the ability to have officers at my disposal that are not dedicated to my main team that I can use to hold a door or a hallway. In multiplayer, we have a mod right now called Spawn Police that allows you to use the SWAT AI in multiplayer co-op. It does really help out a lot when it comes to having extra bodies to hold areas, but it can be finicky trying to micromanage and only having 2 subgroups of AI to manage. Now, you can go up to the AI and individually move them, but that can be an issue when you're halfway across the map and the only person who can manipulate the AI is the host. I'd love to see a feature where we have the flexibility to call up AI officers to hold a door or a hallway and even a perimeter of a building if necessary. This would add to the overall authenticity of a SWAT experience, especially when playing in a group. Another thing that I think greatly needs revisited is the suspect AI, and I think a lot of people agree with me on this one. We're still seeing many patterns of unrealistic AI behaviors that I think really does hinder the overall gameplay experience. The AI tends to do this weird strafing where they hop across a room while spraying like a fully automatic weapon, and they are just beyond accurate, and it happens so often. Even the most trained soldier isn't going to be that accurate while moving, especially with the speed that they are moving. And I understand, I'm pretty sure anyway, they added this because it's very difficult. It's hard to shoot a moving target, and I get that. We're playing an FPS game and it's supposed to be fun and challenging. However, it feels like here that there's no penalty to the AI when they're moving and shooting, and I think that's a big issue that needs to be looked into. Another thing that bothers me quite a bit is how the suspects react to the SWAT team. I find it to be frustrating when the suspects seek out the SWAT team. I think this is a poor design decision by Void Interactive here. I feel like it was implemented to simulate flanking, but what really ends up happening here is that they just run out into a hallway and get sprayed down by the SWAT team. It's like the AI go into this like investigation or push mode, and instead of hiding and withdrawing from the firefight and ambushing the player and the SWAT team later, they decide to run after the player or the SWAT team and try to rush them, right? And they end up going down because it's extremely easy to take a gunfight when people are coming at you rather than, you know, pushing into a room and trying to locate the threat. It would be so much more immersive to have more situations where the bad guys were hiding and barricading themselves. It happens way too often where they just rush you, like I was just saying. In reality, you're not going to have that situation where suspects are just sprinting at you as soon as you start popping rounds off, right? Very rarely would this occur. The suspects are going to very often retreat and entrench themselves because they know they will have an advantage because the SWAT team or the police has to search for them in the building where they have limited knowledge of the layout, where the suspect may be their own home, right? So they have all the knowledge in the world, and that's what makes it so intense. Either way, there are a lot of things I'd like to see them improve on and implement, but for right now, I think that will suffice. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Thank you all for sticking to the end of the video, and we'll see you next time.